All right, have and have not fans. After a lot of comments suggesting that I do this video, I'm really excited to bring to you the top 10 coldest moments of the Ice Queen. That's kind of a title I was just bouncing around in my head, and I figured, instead of a typical top 10 list of, hey, the top 10 kills, the top 10 dramatic moments, that kind of stuff, I figured with enough attention that Veronica has been bringing to my channel, like literally some of my most popular videos lately have been Veronica themed, I figured I should just do a video listing out some of her top moments. Now for this particular video, it's not me doing a top 10 Veronica Harrington moments thing. It's more of me diving into the Ice Queen side of things, where I'm going to be talking about some of her chilliest moments, those moments where her being on the screen and the action she did and how it affected people around her, it just, struck me cold. You know what I mean? So these 10 moments are, again, I will say that for the first time I'm doing a top 10 list, these are in a particular order. Now, these moments are moments that people have pointed out to me, but for the most part, I really looked into my own have and have not archive, so to speak, all of my blogs and Facebook posts, and just thought about which ones that I felt were the chilliest Ice Queen moments. Now, some of these items might be things you may have forgotten, or some things you may not think should have made the list, but hey, that's what the comment section is for. So list out some of the moments that aren't on my top 10 list that you feel should be either on your own personal list or should have made the cut. Now, as always, I'm going to start off with number 10, and for the first time I've actually listed these from number 10 to number 1 in terms of here's how I felt they should be ranked. Now, number 10 might rub people the wrong way, but hear me out on this one. Now, number 10 is about the way Veronica treats those who have less than her. Now, more specifically, I wouldn't even call them have-nots, but I'll just call them the everyday working man. I feel like one of the best instances of this is during the opening of season 3, where where Veronica is trying to get into David's hotel room at the Sedan Hotel. Remember, at this time, she had like a sixth sense, so to speak, about Maggie and David getting it on. And she was actually correct in the fact that those two were in bed together. But remember that David couldn't bring himself to have an affair, because even though there are times, especially now over the whole Jeffrey being a homosexual thing, that he can't stand Veronica, he just can't help but love her. So after just talking and laying in bed, David decided to get up and just leave. And I believe even Maggie's like, look, don't go, just hold me, please. And David said, and again, this is a really cool line by David, that, hey, as a man, to me, it'll just be holding you. But to you, you'll feel a sense of warmth, security. It'll basically mean more than what it is just me comforting a friend. So when David walked out of the room, there was Veronica sitting there, and that led to a cat fight. But remember, what I'm talking about here is the way she was literally threatening that employee from the Sedan Hotel. She was explaining that, hey, I'm the wife of David Harrington and I needed a key for the room to get back in. But the employee was literally following the regulations of the hotel. It's like, hey, unless, we have security clearance, you're not able to gain a key to go into somebody else's room. So after going back and forth or threatening that guy, she eventually was able to get the owner of the hotel over the phone, explained the situation of how, hey, I'm Veronica Harrington and this employee is not allowing me to get into the room. She eventually got into the room, but the fact is she literally was threatening that guy like, you know what, you're going to lose your job. You shouldn't even be messing with me like this. And it's just sad because that guy was literally just doing his job. So I feel like her undermining the work of people beneath her really does show essence into the Ice Queen's heart, which is ice cold. I mean, literally, this guy was just doing his job and most likely trying to pay his way through school or something like that. And literally, here comes this woman who's trying to use her social status to get into a room to break regulation. Now, I believe she even pulls something similar to this during the not the Sedan Hotel, but the other hotel that the characters are staying at, where she had the vase full of flowers for Erica. But remember, she's using this vase just to figure out who she is. And then the clerk at the front desk was like, okay, I'll call her down later. Call her now. I need you to do it now. And then I was just like, wow. So that's why I feel that number 10 is just the way Veronica treats those beneath her. And I really feel that at some point that's going to come back on her. Now we move to number 9. This one is about the black sedan blackmail scheme in order to get Jeffrey to do what she wants. Now, I feel like one of the best moments for this was when Candace and Jeffrey went to a restaurant just to talk and sit down with Veronica. And I believe that's where Candace had the shirt that's, or, blouse that had like bad bitch written on it or something like that. And then Jeffrey was sitting alone with her. And then Candace is like, don't leave. No, I'm not going anywhere. I can't leave you alone with her. She's like, no. Go ahead. I'll talk to her. And then Jeffrey, of course, had just come out of the closet and was living with Candace and Amanda and trying to embrace his new lifestyle. And then Veronica pretty much shut it down by handing him a manila envelope, I believe. He opened it up and saw pictures of the black sedan, which was Jeffrey's car. And that's when we found out Veronica was going to utilize the car as blackmail to say, hey, look, if you don't start doing what I say, you're going to jail. It's like, you wouldn't do that to me, would you, Mom? The hell I won't. And I'm just like, wow. So pretty much showing that Veronica, I believe this was one of the first instances where we see that Veronica is literally just ruthless. Like, she will do whatever it takes to get what she wants. So the black sedan was something that was really a big change in her character from season 1, even going as far as to remember that she called the car company because there was a tracker in the car. And remember, it was important to find out where this car was in order to help cover up Wyatt hitting Lil Lizzie and Benny Young. So Veronica took it upon herself to find the car's location, put it at the tow yard just to keep Jeffrey in line. So really, this was one of the first times that we saw Veronica not only doing something to blackmail somebody else, but kind of stepping away from Jim, Catherine, and David to do her own thing. And this really leads to the fact that every time she makes a move, she does it for her own personal reasons. Now we move into number 8, which is kind of an extension of number 9. Where Veronica tells Jeffrey that it was better if he had never been born. This was at the season finale of season 1, where Jeffrey reveals that he's gay to his mom and dad. And then we get some backstory on Veronica in terms of the fact that she had an abortion in college. Her and David tried to have a baby over and over again, but she felt that because she got that abortion, she was cursed. And then after multiple tries, they finally had a child. And it was Jeffrey, but now he's gay and she can't stand that. If I'm not mistaken, I think she said she had a miscarriage as well. I don't remember fully, but I just know that the fact that out of all the children, you were the one that's born. You were better off not being born at all. And that was just crushing. Like, I feel like that might, honestly, this could have been the number 1 moment, but I feel like there are other things above this one. But it was one of the scenes, like number 10, where Veronica didn't even lift a finger. She just talked. Like, with number 9, with the blackmail, she had to, certain things had to be done in motion. Like her making a phone call, her handing off the papers to Jeffrey. But this was her just glaring at Jeffrey and literally looking him right in the face and saying that I will never accept this. And she walks out of the room, leaving David and Jeffrey alone. I was just like, wow. So number 8 is definitely her saying Jeffrey should never have been born. Then we go into number 7, which is again an instance where we have Veronica telling Jeffrey, look, you're in a situation here that's going to turn out bad if you don't do as I say. This is number 7, when she allows Quincy to go over to Jeffrey's house and then beat him up if he doesn't tell him about where Candace is. And the sad part is, it's not when Jeffrey got beat up. It's the fact that he's on the phone with his mom, because remember that Jeffrey was on the phone with Candace, walking into his apartment, shut the door, cut on the light. And right when he's about to hang up, Quincy's on, he sees Quincy sitting on his bed. And then Quincy's like, look, tell me where Candy is. That's all you got to do and I'll leave. And then instead of calling Candace like Quincy wanted him to, boom, he calls Veronica. And basically from there, we have Veronica telling Quincy, look, you're stupid for saying that I was the one to get you out of jail and sent you over there. And then Jeffrey, like a little kid, is like, look, Mom, you're going to let him hurt me? He's like, well, if you don't do as I already said, then he will. And then she just hung up on him. And that's one of the first signs where Jeffrey truly knew that his mom was literally ice cold. There was no going back. So then we get to number 6, and this was in the finale of the Veronica show, where Veronica literally reveals the truth about Justin and his secret life to his wife. Remember that Justin's wife was the judge who was going over the case of the whole incident with the killing of Quincy Sr. And what I'm saying here is the fact that she won the case. Like, literally, there was no question that she demolished the new DA. And right when she was about to, well, the judge had already ruled, and right when she was about to turn around and leave, she saw Jeffrey and Justin standing there after David clearly said not to go to the courtroom. And she played the clip of Jeffrey and Justin and Jeffrey's apartment, well, actually, hotel room. And what was bad about it is the fact that Justin's wife was sitting right there and had to just be publicly embarrassed. Luckily enough, there were only maybe like 4 or 5 people in the courtroom to see this. So the fact that not only it was like a 2 birds and 1 stone, not only did she reveal the truth about Justin to his wife, but also had Jeffrey put under arrest for saying that, hey, he was the one to kill Quincy. So I'm just, wow, that was a ruthless moment to say the least. And folks, this is only number 6. Now we get to number 5, and the reason this is on the list is, remember, this is number 5 where we have Veronica being the cougar, basically sleeping with Benny just to get back at David. Now remember, the first time those two slept together was after Veronica bailed him out of jail for the whole incident with, if I'm not mistaken, that was when Benny had rammed his car into Quincy's car at the strip club and then beat him up. Remember, this was because Quincy had come over to Hannah's house and hit her. Now, what I'm saying with this particular one is the fact that Veronica at this point was just gung-ho on the fact that David and Maggie had slept together after catching them in the Serena Hotel twice. The first time was those two fully dressed, just coming out of Maggie's room. She assumed the worst. Second time was when she was sitting in David's hotel room after his shirt being undone, and I believe there was lipstick on his collar, if I'm not mistaken. Coming out of Maggie's room and assuming the worst. Okay, I will admit the second time did look a lot worse than the first time. Let me just say that right now. Now, she slept with Benny under the assumption those two slept together. So first off, she was wrong for cheating on her husband and doing so because he had an affair, which he did not. And then even after continuing to deny the fact that, hey, I never slept with that woman, she kept throwing it in his face that, hey, we're going to sleep together again over and over again. So I guess you could say that her having multiple menage a trois, I believe is the phrase, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't take French, with Benny just to get back at David was a trip. Now you have those saying they're in a relationship. I never considered those two in a relationship. I really didn't. It was literally a means to the end, sort of speaking, of her just getting back at David. So that's why I feel that her taking advantage of a young kid like that was just ridiculous. Then we moved to number 4, where she literally burnt down her house with David on the inside and creepily telling David later that, I didn't want to kill you, David. I just wanted you burned up and messed up a little. That way, nobody else wants you but me. And that's when you really started to see the true psychotic side of this woman. And the fact that she just so casually took it. Oh, yeah, this was right after she slept with Benny. Well, actually didn't sleep with Benny, but messed around with him in David's truck. Remember, she gave the truck to Benny. He dropped her off in front of the house. Then later that night, I believe, she took a can of gasoline, poured it around the bed, and threw a match down, and then sat on the front steps smoking a cigarette, and the house was on fire. And I was like, wow. So, yeah, this is a thing now. She's committing arson and trying to maybe not kill David, but literally give him burn wounds enough that no woman ever wants him again. So number 4 was, and ironically, on a list of her top 10 coldest moments, this probably is the hottest one, just to throw that out there. Now we get to number 3. And again, this list just keeps getting better and better, folks. Number 3, where we have Veronica being the reason that Wyatt was, well, essentially taken advantage of by Toxic while he was in jail under the false illusion of jail by Jim. Remember that he had Wyatt and Norman Hewan switch places, so Wyatt would get a taste of the jail/prison life if he was indeed to give himself up about the little Lizzie situation. During this time, everything was going exactly as planned. You know, he was getting beaten up by his roommate at the time. His name escapes me, but basically it was a guy that Jim had set up to be in there to show Wyatt about, you know, hey, this is what jail life is like. And I believe he got stabbed or something on the prison yard, and that's why Toxic took his place. And then after that, you know, that's when Wyatt literally got taken advantage of and scared to death. And we later find out that Veronica is the reason for this, not only by setting up, I believe, Terrell, the one of the cops on the jailers on guard, literally giving him some money in order to set up Toxic. And I believe Toxic called Veronica about that, about, hey, where's my money? It's like, then she hung up on him. And wow, I was just like, damn. Fans were like, okay, one of these days it's going to come back on her. But then we find out that Jim had Toxic killed. So that leads to her getting a comeuppance when Jim was literally trying to choke her out, but David stopped him from doing so, because literally this was something that affected not just Wyatt, but it resonated within the house, because Jim eventually found out. Then David found out first, but he wasn't 100% sure, so he didn't tell Jim about it. That's when Jim found out about it, and then he and David got into it in the jail. So literally it was a ripple effect, so to speak. Like, her getting Wyatt raped was something that affected everybody, because remember that after Wyatt got out of jail, that's when he truly saw his parents for the monsters that he sees them as. That's when he got the inheritance money, used the money to OD, which caused Catherine to go over the deep end and kill Jennifer. And by extension, she found out about Wyatt getting raped by Jeffrey and tried to, threaten Veronica. So literally, by Veronica doing that one act of getting Wyatt raped in jail by Toxic, that almost cost her life. So that's crazy. Honestly, in some ways, this should have been number one. But hey, there's two more that I feel are better than this one. Number 2, getting Maggie Day killed. Now, you might say that, hey, she's not responsible because she didn't pull the trigger, but how about this? Originally, Jim had Mama Rose set up somebody at Veronica's house. That way, when Veronica comes through the door, pow pow, she's dead. However, Jim told David that I canceled out that hitman, that they were gone. So the person that was hiding, I believe it was in the corner behind the piano or something, the person who was hiding in Veronica's house was somebody that Veronica set up on the fly in order to set up Maggie. Because remember, Veronica pulled up to her house, and this was after she got herself out of jail, and she has cameras set up everywhere. So I think she took out like a iPad or Kindle, whatever you call it, and then checked the cameras in the house and saw that there's somebody in there. So we can assume this was the same person she set up on purpose. So when Maggie Day came over, remember, this was after Maggie put the photo in the paper about Veronica and Benny. So Veronica was already trying to have her ass for sleeping with David. She called Maggie, like, look, come over to my house. It's like, look, you won. There are some things about David that you should know, so come over to my house. So that was idiot mistake number 1, trusting Veronica enough to come over to her house, given the fact that the last time Maggie was over there, she expressed her feelings for David and the fact that every kiss you don't put on David is one more kiss that he'll put on my body. And Veronica literally said she would shoot you right there, which she called off as a bluff. But at the same time, you really shouldn't have gone over to the house of a black woman whose husband that you openly said you're going to steal. So when Maggie showed up, I believe at the time, Veronica had called the cops or something, saying that there was a strange man running around. And when Veronica was talking to the police, she's like, Maggie, don't worry about it. Just go in the house. I'll be there in a minute. So when Maggie goes there and opens the door, she gets shot multiple times, and that's a wrap. So Maggie Day is dead, and Veronica is pretending to be surprised, but then smirking behind a cop car. So right then and there, you just learn the fact that not only is Veronica cold-blooded, but she doesn't get her hands dirty, which is almost like Jim in the fact that instead of, getting her own hands, messed up and dirty from doing the dirt, she will dig deep in order to go through her connections to get somebody else to do the deed so she doesn't get caught. So in a way, I can respect that, but damn, that's cold. Now, this leads to number 1, and I call it Plan Melissa. When I say by Plan Melissa, that means her, quote unquote, taking over her parents' business to make sure it doesn't get bankrupt, paying for Melissa's father's cancer treatment, like, his medication and whatnot. And then, for a lack of a better phrase, buying Melissa to get impregnated by Jeffrey so she can have a grandchild, and then so Jeffrey can get married and keep the family line going. This has probably proven to be Veronica's most diabolical, but I can't even get the diabolical, sickening plan in the entire show. Because just like number 3 about Wyatt getting raped and how that affected many people, the same thing goes with Melissa, because this is like not just Melissa but her family as a whole. Like, I can't even. Okay, so let's just paint the picture. Because Jeffrey's gay, Veronica set it up so Melissa was like a test animal, because Melissa said that Veronica kept carrying me to the doctor to check when I'm the most fertile, if I'm the right, blood type, and this and that, which led to her and Jeffrey both getting drunk. Well, basically, getting Jeffrey to the state where he would be a bit tipsy, going to his apartment, and then having sex. And then from there, hey, I'm literally just the cage, so to speak, for her grandchild to grow in. So I had to do everything the way she wants it done. I need to do this, this, and this in order for my father to get his medication. And if I'm not mistaken, Melissa said, well, my father hadn't gotten his medication or this week. And Veronica's like, well, you haven't laid, my son hasn't got laid either. Basically, she was going to withhold giving her father the medication he needs to live, just until Melissa does the job that, she bought her for, so to speak. So what's really tripping me out is the fact that Melissa's father died. And just like the Maggie Day situation, even though Veronica isn't the person that killed them, she might as well have been the one to pull the trigger, so to speak. And then you look at the fact that Melissa's mom is selling her house to cover the funeral for Melissa's father. That shows you right there that even though she has the business in one hand, Melissa in the other, Melissa's dad literally slipped through the cracks and now he's gone. So basically the death of Melissa's dad means nothing to him. And I'm just like, that is just insane. And this leads to Melissa eventually snapping with the multiple suicide attempts. And as we saw in the finale, her flipping the car. So both of them are seemingly dead, so to speak. This isn't me confirming. I'm just saying that they're pretty much in a very deadly situation due to the car crash. So all I'm saying is the fact that she went through such extreme lengths just to get her son in line just proves how devious and cold-hearted Veronica Harrington is as a character. Now, these are my top 10 coldest moments for Veronica in the haves and the have-nots. Now, again, these are just 10. Now, I'm pretty sure there are multiple moments that didn't make the cut, but you feel they should have made. So that's why I feel it's important to go in the comment section below, list out some of the things you agreed with on my list, list out some of the things that, hey, why isn't this moment on the list? But personally speaking, me going back through the series, these are the moments I felt caught my attention the most. And the thing is, and again, this is a spoiler for the next video I might be doing. Let's say Veronica survives the car crash, but Melissa and the baby don't, or the baby doesn't. One thing somebody pointed out to me in the comment section is, look, Veronica Harrington has done some pretty twisted stuff in the show so far. But what if the grandbaby dies? What do you think she will do next? And again, that's why this is number one, playing Melissa, like the entire Melissa thing. Now, if that grandbaby is gone, there is no telling what lengths this woman will go towards in order to get either that baby back or to get Jeffrey to get get another girl knocked up. I literally cannot think of what she'll do next. However, I will definitely do a video on that. So with that being said, I urge you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. The Haves and the Have-Nots comes back in January. So I want to make sure that everybody listening to this video subscribe so they're up to date whenever I do episode reviews, what if theories, top 10 list, different character analysis. But let me know in the comments, what do you think of this video? What are some more video ideas you want me to do? And also, the spoiler for the next video I'll be doing is, if Veronica's grandchild is dead due to the car crash, what will she do in order to get another grandchild?